Thanks so much, Kate. And I think the most difficult thing about the presentation with today was we had such great information. It was trying to figure out what to highlight and bubble up. So as Kate mentioned, we'll be sharing all the slides and all the data on the website following the webinar. So you'll have full access to that. But we're going to move to audience Q&A, and Erica is going to facilitate that. So please throw in any questions, comments, ideas that you have in the chat. So Erica, I'll turn it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. We've had a few people have been privately messaged me and sent me some questions, and we have some really good ones here. I'm not sure you'll have the answer to all of them, but there's some really good questions. So one question we have here is about how we've been hearing there's a lot more women moving to rural areas, and wondering about if there's any research in this, or if you've found any, if maybe some of the women you've spoken to have been coming from these urban areas and moving to rural areas, and if how supporting those women and their strengths at all. Do you have any ideas around that, or did you hear anyone with that type of background?
Yeah, well, we had several women who attended the convening and who completed the survey who identified themselves as newcomers, whether it is recently or 10 years ago. But a lot of them talked about the challenges for newcomers in small communities where it feels like everybody knows each other, they already have their own social networks. And so it is really hard for those women to break into the community. And so, on a previous research project that I worked on in Olivia, Minnesota, I specifically interviewed a newcomer to find out kind of what the challenges were of getting incorporated into that community. And so from both that project and then also from this one, one of the things that I think that would be super helpful is, one of the recommendations for all women in general, which is that idea of mentors. And so if we could, sort within small communities, if we could identify the newcomers and, assign them or introduce them to a mentor who could help sort of be their guide to the community. And, so many of them talked about, it took me a long time to break in, but when I met this one person, she knows everybody. And if you want to get something done in the community, you've got to know her. And as soon as I met her, then like my whole world opened. And so I think just being really intentional about making sure that every newcomer is paired up with one of those mentors would make a huge difference.
Nice, thank you. And a little bit along those lines, there was a few questions about how women, and I think you talked a little bit about this, but women are diverse in rural areas too. And what did you find differences maybe between younger and older women, women of color and white women, and how what diverse women, and I feel like this might be different for each diverse women, how they want to be supported and not just lumped into one group of rural women?
Mm-hmm. Diverse women really would like sort of separate spaces to practice leadership. They felt like, due to kind of histories that involve a lot of trauma, that it's really important to have spaces for women of color where they can be with one another, practicing those leadership skills in a way that feels safer than being in kind of a mixed crowd. And so I think that's one thing that you may want to consider is, as you're establishing these regional networks, like, is there a way to create sort of subgroups for women of color? And then I think there's also just such a difference between what we heard from younger women who are in the years of their life when, they are raising children and have a lot of demands at home. And then older women, the largest number of survey respondents and convening attendees were in the 45 to 64 range. And I think, there's more personal time at that point in your life, and women are really craving an opportunity to take on more leadership roles, or if they have been involved in the past, they're craving an opportunity to be able to pass along what they've learned to other people. So I think that there's that sort of imbalance in terms of time. And so, the more we could figure that out, whether it's offering, childcare at network meetings, or even having, I wondered if you could have like a separate breakout room in your online meeting, and the breakout room is a magician putting on like someone doing a puppet show for kids, while the mom is, in the main breakout room. And so just trying to think creatively about, how can we involve those younger women who still have child's care duties or other responsibilities at home. Because there's certainly, as you mentioned, there's a lot of diversity in women's experiences and what they need.
Yeah, thank you. There's a simple question here, but I'm curious, you've done a lot of research beforehand. Was there anything in the survey responses and in the meetings that surprised you or you weren't expecting at all based on your research?
Well, I really struggled with this idea of confidence, and how much women's confidence in their own abilities is really a barrier. And I think we found in the survey and convening data, we found conflicting answers to that. So, we have a perception that really what women need is to be more confident to step into those roles. But then, when we ask women, what barriers have you personally faced? Very few of them said that a barrier for me was, confidence. And so I feel like, we haven't really reached a definitive answer to that question. I think it's a piece of the puzzle, but I think perhaps it's not as big a piece as we thought it was.
Thank you. I think this is a great question. I think we have 2 more questions maybe. So this one just came in and it says, I'm so glad that women are having this conversation, but I'm concerned about being only women in the room. What do you see as this conversation being taken beyond the walls of women-only space? It's great that women are doing the work together, but again, it makes women do all the work and to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and that is, I think that is really important to think about. That's very insightful, because this community education piece is so important. And as I was exploring all of the comments that we heard, just hundreds of comments across these convenings and all of the survey data, women are really feeling those barriers, that it's not enough just to feel like I have developed my own leadership abilities and my own leadership skills, but it's like there are very real structural barriers in the community that are holding women back. And so until we start to address some of those barriers, we're not going to see the needle move very far. And so we need to take this conversation beyond a group of women. And one of the things that I think we could emphasize is really the studies that show that women's involvement in community leadership is directly linked to community vitality and viability. And so, they've actually shown that small communities that have more women in leadership positions, they, have a stronger economy, and they are thriving. And so, I think if we can focus on some of that like research and data that shows that this isn't just something that would be nice to have more women in leadership, but this is actually a matter of survival for our small towns. I think that message hopefully will speak to everybody.
Yeah, I was part of these convenings too, and I'll just add that it was for having just women in the space for a while is good to be able to share more of your thoughts openly, and then be able to hopefully share that with the broader audience in the future too. This last question, which I think might segue into our next part but people were curious about, and I think we're starting to think about this in my work too, how we've been thinking about balancing, because I heard you say there's some things that remove some barriers for people through online meetings, but then people are also really tired of online meetings. So how are we 100 Rural Women going to be thinking about that in the future as far as online or in person? Yeah. Maybe that's a question for Teresa, I'm not sure, but if you have questions on that.
I mean, I would say that the more you can give women options, every woman's situation is so different. And so I hope that in the post-COVID world, employers offer more flexibility to women to come into the office when it is convenient or, important to do so, and then have the flexibility to work from home if you need to. And I would say the same thing for organizations, that the more we can provide options for women to join in whatever way they are able, the more accessibility there is for all women. Yeah. But Teresa, you want to add to that?
No, that's exactly where I'm at. I think options are really important. I think one of the questions we didn't ask today, but we usually ask at the end of the webinar is, what do you see for the future? If you looked in a crystal ball, and I think that we need to think about hybrid. I think we need to take the good that came from COVID and embrace it and get rid of the bad. But I think it's really forced me and us as an organization to think about what is our business model, and our goal is to really serve rural women. So how can we be accessible, welcoming, and supportive? So I think it's really makes us step back and think about what is our business model and how do we best engage with rural women. Well, thanks so much. Thanks, Erica. This was great. And thanks again, Kate. And Delaney, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk a little bit about what we've got going on this summer.
Yeah. So again, Kate, thank you for all of the wonderful work you've done on this, because now we get to pick up and run with it further. This summer, we're going to be starting kind of our virtual road trip and focus have some focus group type convenings in each of the regions of Minnesota. We're planning to do 30 meetings, 6 for each region, and spread out over a week for each region. So I think Hannah will be able to drop the link to start registering. But this project is going to continue both to do these convenings with more women across Minnesota, and also a survey aspect to be able to identify barriers. And we're going to really advertise that and share that out widely. We're going to try to be intentional about getting diverse voices, going at it from an intersectional lens to make sure we're really understanding the nuanced experiences of rural women across all of Minnesota. I can throw the link in there. So we're really excited for this, kicking off our first set of meetings. There we go. Thank you, Hannah. They're going to be the week of June 22nd in Northeast Minnesota. We're really going to be encouraging women to sign up for their region, but if they can't, it's no worries. They can attend any of them. And so we're just really excited to continue this work that Kate has already set up. We really want to investigate whether there's differences in what leadership needs are in different regions and different communities, so we can really figure out how to best support that and just keep the ball rolling. Teresa, is there anything else you'd like to add about it?
Yeah, I think I'm just really excited to be able to build on the work that Kate did for us with the pilot project. What a great way for us to test different strategies and engagement and learn, oh, that worked. It's like, oh, we don't want to do that. So it worked out wonderfully. The difference we'll have, the pilots were 90 minutes. We're going to keep these meetings to 60 minutes. And for those of you in the Northwest, we'll be coming back around in August to the Northwest again. So we'll be doing another series. So we're going to start Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, Central, and back up in the Northwest. So we're really excited about the meetings and just appreciate everybody's engagement. As Delaney mentioned, we'll have 30 meetings across the state this summer, and then we'll be doing a variety of meetings to complete our 100. And we've learned so much from the pilot and look forward to learning this summer about how do we best structure and engage the full 100 meetings. You know, what can they be focused on? We'll be looking sectorally, racially, culturally, a variety of different groupings to really reach women across our state to understand how we can best add value as an organization and support women. So I just want to thank everybody today for for joining us. I want to thank Kate for presenting and doing such wonderful work for us, and Linda at RSDP for being so supportive of our work and continuing to support our work across the state with RSDP, and Kira. We're just so fortunate to have support with graduate students and with Kate and now Delaney. And just we are a young woman driven organization. I just think we are very fortunate to be that. So our next meeting is going to be in July. Date to come on that. It's going to be around mental health. And just on the webinar follow-up, just some logistics. We will have the recording up. We'll have resources up on the web page. And as Delaney said, we have the link up right now to register for summer meetings. So you'll see more to come on that. We'll be starting, as she said, the week of the 21st. So the 22nd will be our first meetings in the Northeast, but you'll find that information on the website. So other than that, I want to make sure that we close in time, and I think we're right on time. So please let us know if you have any suggestions, questions. We do have a survey that you can fill out to give us some suggestions of topics you'd like to hear about, maybe some amazing women in your community that you'd like us to lift up and have present on a webinar. We would love that information. But other than that, just have a great summer day, and thank you again for joining us this morning.